Hi viewers, good day. Welcome to vSparks. Today we are going to see the concepts and features of Google Cloud Filestore. We are going to see a demo on how to create and access Cloud Filestore as well. If you like this video, please subscribe to vSparks channel and click the bell icon for the latest updates. This is the agenda of this video. We are going to discuss on these topics in this video. Basically, you have three divisions of data storage system: file storage, object storage, and block storage. You can see the general examples and the corresponding products from Google Cloud for these three divisions. If you want to know more about the data storage services of Google Cloud, please refer to the previous videos. In this video, we are going to discuss and see the Cloud Filestore. Cloud Filestore is a fully managed NFS file servers running in Google Cloud. So now we can ask our question: what is NFS file servers? What it is going to give us? Of course, we will see it. This is the NFS Client-Server Architecture. We will start from the scratch. NFS stands for Network File System. Of course, it is a virtual file system that allows a user on a client machine to access files over a network, much like a local storage system. Here is our client machine. This is going to access the NFS server file system over the network. Since this NFS file system is a shared file system, it can be accessed by multiple clients at the same time. This is my first client, this is my second client. Both the guys can access their virtual file system here, and of course the files as well. The server that gives this shared NFS file system is called as NFS server, and the protocol that is used here is called as NFS. To build this NFS server, we need a physical or a virtual machine. Of course, we need an operating system as well. On top of these things, we will create the NFS file shares. The burden here is the maintenance. We need to take care of the software patching and the hardware maintenance, which incurs huge amount of money for us. To avoid this problem, Google Cloud introduces Cloud Filestore. Google Cloud Filestore lets you to create the NFS server instance, and it allows you to consume it. Google takes care of the OS patching and the maintenance for you. You need to pay for what you are going to use from the NFS. That's it. No need to take care of the OS patching, maintenance costs, etc. etc. Here are some important features of Google Cloud Filestore. It is a fully managed, high-performance NFS file server in the cloud. It supports heavy workloads and scales up to 320 TB. Maybe in future, this limit may be increased. It is very well accessible from GCE, that is Google Cloud Compute Engine, GKE, that is Google Cloud Kubernetes Engine, and then the remote clients. It supports NFS protocol version number 3. This file store comes in 3 service tiers: basic HDD, basic SSD, and high scale SSD. You should always provision the file store instance with at least the minimum storage capacity. If you don't have the quota limits for your file store instance, you can very well raise a support ticket for the same. Next is how to access Google Cloud Filestore. You can access Filestore from Compute Engine VMs, provided you should mount the Filestore NFS file system in your Compute Engine VMs using NFS Client Utility Tools. In the same way, you can access Filestore NFS file system from GKE, that is Google Kubernetes Engine. by creating something called as persistent volumes and persistent volume clients. GCE and GKE should be deployed in the same VPC as that of the Filestore instance VPC. To access it from the remote clients or from your on-premises, you should create a proxy VM in the Filestore VPC and forward the NFS packets using proxy VM. Next is access control. You grant access to the Filestore operations by granting IAM roles to the users. IAM permissions only control access to the Filestore operations like creating, modifying or deleting a Filestore instance. Access to the file operations like read, write and execute are determined by the Linux permissions. By default, file share will be having 755 permissions, which is in the octal notation. These are the things that you should know before deploying Filestore instance. First, check your quota limits for Filestore. If Filestore storage is not enough, feel free to raise a ticket for quota increase. Second, if your clients or applications are using NFS file locking feature, then know about the ports that they are using for file lock, because you need these ports in your firewall definition. Third, of course, you need to configure your network and firewall settings too. Lastly, if you are going to connect Filestore from on-premises, you should use a proxy VM because you cannot connect the Filestore directly from other networks. Instead, you can use this proxy VM to forward the NFS packets to the Filestore. This is the architecture of Google Cloud Filestore when connecting from Compute Engine NFS clients. Similarly, this is the architecture when connecting from remote or on-premises networks. Now, we will see a demo. These are the things that we are going to do in this demo. Step 1, we are going to log into the GCP console. I have already logged in to the console. Just cross-check whether you are in the correct project. Step number 2, we need to check the quota to deploy the Filestore instance. If you don't have the quota, you can go ahead and create a ticket for increasing the quota limits. Now we are checking the quota limits. Here you can see for basic HDD tier, you have the quota limits, but for basic SSD and high scale SSD, we don't have the quotas. So we have 2 TB limits for basic HDD tier in each and every region. So we can provision only basic HDD tier of Cloud Filestore. So now it's step 3. We need to create the VPCs, subnets and the firewall rules. This step is already done just to save your time, but we can cross verify the same. So we have a VPC called VPC-Filestore for us. Within that VPC we have 3 subnets and we need to check the firewall rules as well. Since this is a demo, I have opened all the firewall ports for us. But in a production scenario, you should open only the specific ports which are needed for the Filestore to communicate. Now it's step number 4. We are going to deploy the Filestore instance. We can deploy the Filestore instance in any region, but for better network connectivity, we need to place the Filestore instance and the NFS clients as close as possible. Just go to your navigation menu. Under storage, you have Filestore. Click that one. and then click create instance. Give a name for your instance. I'm going to give it as Filestore-instance. Choose your tier. So in our case it should be basic HDD. For that only we have Quota. The storage capacity is 1 TB, which is the minimum storage limit. And then the region you have to choose. You can choose any region. For now I'm choosing it as Asia South East 1. Choose your VPC network where your NFS clients are going to get deployed, and then choose your file share name. In our case I'm choosing it as my NFS. And then the access control, I'm going to give or grant access to all the clients on that specific VPC. So review your configuration and then click create. It will take some time. We will catch back after that. So now you can see the Filestore instance is created, and then now we are going to deploy the NFS clients, and then we are going to install the NFS utilities. So I'm going to create 2 NFS clients for us. So let me open a new tab. So we are going to create these NFS clients in the compute engine. So go to the navigation menu under compute engine, go to VM instances, create 2 instances. I'll show you how to create for one instance and then you follow the same for the next instance. Okay, so give a name for your VM. I'm giving it as client-1. I'm going to choose the Singapore region because there only I have created the subnets. So I'm going to change my OS. I'm going to deploy the CentOS. And then now we are going to configure our network part. So now you need to choose the network as VPC-Filestore. For network tags, you need to cross check from your firewall rules. Let me open a new tab. So go to the VPC network. So the VPC that we are using is VPC-Filestore. Okay. Check the firewall here. So the network tag I should use is FW-Filestore. Then only this firewall rule will be applied to those specific targets. So now for this machine, all the incoming or the ingress traffic is allowed in all the ports. That is the meaning now. So now the first machine or the first client is getting created. Okay, now SSH into the machine. Once you log in, you need to install the NFS utilities. The command varies for different operating systems. For CentOS, it is NFS-utils. For Ubuntu, I think it is NFS-common. So you can cross check the same in your Google Cloud documentation, Filestore documentation. So here I am installing NFS utilities. It's done now. So similarly, you need to create the second client, I mean the NFS client, in a different compute engine machine. So I have created it for you just to save your time. So now it's step number 6. You need to test the Cloud Filestore instance. So now we are going to mount the file share from the file store to the client machines. So now I'm quitting as a root user. So as a regular user, I'm just creating a directory called NFS. So now I'm going to mount the NFS file share to this directory. For this, you need to have the NFS mount point, which will be available with your file store instance. That's it. Now I have mounted the NFS file share to the NFS directory. To cross check it, just type df space -h. Here you can see at the last row, you can see the size as well. It is going to be 1 TB. So we have mounted in the first NFS client. Similarly, you need to mount the NFS file share in the second client, I mean in the second machine. So here you need to create a directory. So I'm creating it as NFS2. So once the directory is created, just mount the same. And now you can see a single NFS file share is mounted in 2 different NFS client machines. Now let us try to create a test file from one client, and then we can cross verify the same text file is available in the next client. So here I am creating a text file called example.txt. Don't worry about the permissions, only the root users will be having read, write, execute permissions. Check the same in the next client. Yeah, here example.txt is visible in the client number 2, which means it is shared. That's how it should work. That's it. Once you have done with your demo setup, just delete all your resources to save the cost. This is the summary that we have discussed in the past few minutes. Thank you from vSparks, and thank you for watching this video.